Welcome back. This is part 3 of adding hair to your crochet doll. And as you can see, we've already done the hairline in the front. We've done the part down the middle. So I connected the top and the bottom there. So it should be relatively even from one side to the other. If it's not perfect, well, that's probably fine. So what we're going to do next is define the back of the neck here, and this can be a little bit funny because the way that it works with continuous rounds is not going to be just straight across. So it's straight across for this one, which means that this one, if you follow the line perfectly, you can see the stitch starts a row down. So I'm going to start this way, because I want it to go towards the back. I'm putting my hook in towards the front. Like so. And then at some point, it'll just do a little jog so that it meets in the middle. So I'm going to do this one on a diagonal so that it meets a little bit more smooth. Like so. And then when you do the other side, it's going to meet up without any difficulties because it's already at the same level. So I want the hair to fall towards the back. I'm pulling it into pigtails. I guess technically I should switch halfway across, but as long as we have a nice straight line, it'll be good. Okay. So once I've finished this section, another thing that I like to do is add an extra row nice and close to the back of the hairline so that when you pull it back, you don't have any gaps right at the edge. There's going to be so much hair in the middle, in this section here, that you really don't have to worry about seeing through at that point. But it's around the hairline and sometimes along the part where you need a little bit extra. And that's something that you can kind of figure out as you go, pulling the hair across, kind of practicing the hairstyle and looking for those gaps so that you can fill them in before it's a problem. So that one I think I'm going to do another one in between those stitches. Just because this is right along the hairline and we want it to be nice and thick. If you're using one of the thicker yarns, such as the Line Brand Homespun, you might be able to skip this step because it is just so thick. To begin with, it fills all the gaps all on its own, which is one nice thing about it. Makes for a lot quicker hair. Okay, so I'm going to fill in that hairline there, and then I'm going to show you what I do for the center. between the hairline and the part, because that is actually the quickest part. Hairline takes a while because you want it to look good, because it's the most visible and it's what defines the face of the doll and can really affect the appearance of the doll. But the inside isn't going to be seen very much, especially if you're going to style it into pigtails or something. So what I do is I actually go up for these and do every other stitch, and I start at the bottom simply because that way the yarn is out of my way. And if you do go the other way, or if you're moving it around more, you can always tie these bits back into like a ponytail so it stays out of your way. So now I'm going to kind of stagger them. So the next row up, and try to not stack two stitches right on top of each other. So this one, that would be directly on top, so this one is a little bit more in the middle. And again, when you have increases and decreases, you're not really working with a perfectly straight line, so you might have to figure out which one's going to look best in the end, even if it's not exactly lined up. So see how when they lie flat, they're staggered. So this row fills in down here, and this row fills in between them. So the next one I would do in the next row up would be right here, like that, and so that one's going to hang down and fill in that gap. And as long as you're staggering stitches like that, it helps to fill it in a little bit better without having to use a ton of yarn. If you do want to fill it in completely and you just don't want to have any skin showing through anywhere, then I would recommend using a thinner yarn, because this is already going to give her some pretty full pigtails. And I'm just making some more of my yarn here, cutting across. And this is where my really sharp scissors are so wonderful, because they cut right through that, no problem. All right, so I'm going to keep on going a little bit further so you can see kind of how these staggered stitches fill in those rows a little bit nicer without using as much yarn. Like so. And if you want to use even less yarn, so this row here starts where this one ends, but you could go up one like this. Oops, I only got one of those that time. So that you're doing even fewer rows of stitches, like so. And it just all depends on what style you're going to do, and always take a minute to pull the hair into different styles and move it around and look to see if there are obvious gaps that you really need to fill in. So right now, if I was to take her hair and pull it back into a quick little pigtail, there's the part there, only half of that's going to go on this side. And you can already see, I haven't even finished filling in the head, but that's already a really full pigtail. And there's no skin showing through there. So if you do the center, and it's going to be the same over here with the part too once we get it done properly. So you can see how there's just no skin showing through at all. And some people will even try to get away with not putting any hair in this section, and if you want to go for that, go for it. But I always like to fill it in just in case the pigtails get taken out, which they probably will at some point. But staggering those rows and not doing it every single row just saves some time, saves some yarn, and makes it so the pigtails aren't quite so giant. And this one has a increased row, so it's a little bit trickier to see exactly where those staggers should be. But once again, when all is said and done, you're probably not going to be able to see it. So I'm actually going to add one right there. Okay, so I'm going to finish off this side and then do the other side as well. And then you can come on back and join me for the fourth and final part, which will be styling her hair. And I'm going to show you how to pull the strands across the part nice and neat and secure those pigtails so that all of our hard work pays off. All right.